Number 11 is really important. I would totally tell you number 11 if I remembered what number 11 was, but I've already forgotten what number 11 was. Hey, I'm here to talk to you about 17 things that I wish I would have known before I started, while I was growing and scaling my business. My name's Todd Conklin. I am the CEO of Coldwell Banker Distinctive Properties and Conklin and Family. And I've built a number of companies over the years. The big one that I have started with two of us in the basement of our house, and we've grown it to over 500 people serving multiple markets, dozens of markets. And as I was kind of going through that, I used an app on my phone where I created all these notes. I used Evernote. Little shout out for Evernote. And I'm gonna share 17 of the secrets that I wish I would have known that I gathered from years and years of notes. And I've got over 2,000 notes, so a ton of information. And frankly, I use these 17 when I work with clients that are looking to grow, start, scale their businesses. And I think they're incredibly valuable. So let's go ahead and get started. Number one on my list, we've all heard the whole saying, it's people, process, and product. Very important. The problem is it's wrong. It's actually product first. Oftentimes people go about it saying, hey, we're gonna find the right people, and then we're gonna have them do the right process, and then we're gonna have this great product. The problem is if the product's the wrong product, I don't care how good the people are, I don't care how good the process is, you still have a product that's unsellable. So start with product. Make sure it's the right product and it's got value. Number two on my list is have a hiring process. We stole, and I'll say it, we stole a hiring process from our buddy Bedros, where we do a 4-step process. And I know you've heard hire slow, fire fast, and it's completely true. However, you're still gonna make mistakes. So this 4-step process will help you make fewer mistakes. Step one, we do a phone interview, because no matter what people are doing, they still have to work on the phone. And if you don't have somebody that can actually work on the phone properly, they don't sound right on the phone, well, you probably shouldn't take them to step two. Between step one and step two, we check references. Step two is a Zoom call. Why? Well, we're in a Zoom culture and we need people to really, be able to function properly on Zoom. And we know that it takes a different level of energy and you've got to be able to run the technology. It becomes very important in today's world. Step three is an in-person interview. Some people do great on the phone, they do great on Zoom, and then as soon as they are right in front of you, they botch the whole thing. So number three is making sure that you see them in person. Now at this point, you've got enough time, because you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. And so by the third interview, you've kind of figured it out. The fourth interview is with me. And my job is to make sure you understand that everything everybody told you was really only half the job. And then it's gonna be way harder. And it's gonna take way more time. And you're gonna have to have far more passion than anybody ever said to you. My job is technically to scare people off and make sure that from a cultural standpoint, they're the perfect fit. Now listen, you follow this and it's great, I love it, it's perfect, it works really well for us, you'll make fewer mistakes, but you will make mistakes. So you still have to follow the adage that you hire slow and fire fast. The only piece that I would say is, I wish I would have been told to trust your gut, because your gut knows, and the minute your gut knows, take action. All right, so let's get to number three. Number three is don't be a micromanager. I can remember early on as I was building the business and we were starting to hire leaders and other people to do some of the work, I was a micromanager. And really, it's a really uncomfortable place to be. Truthfully, we are all adults and we don't want to be micromanaged. What we do now, and I wish I would have started earlier, is be a micro-measurer. See, there are certain things that need to get done, and if they get done, you have faith and belief that the outcomes are going to match your goals. So if you'll measure the work that's actually being done, in other words, the leading indicators, then you won't have to manage anything, because the actions of the people that are doing the work will speak louder than their words, and you won't have to manage the people. You can just manage the activity. So micro-measure, don't micro-manage it. Number four is culture. Y'all, culture is a huge deal, and you've got to understand what it is for you. Number two, you've got to defend your culture. You've got to fight for your culture. I can remember as we were growing up in the business, you just didn't really, it was hard to define. And now we understand clearly that we have a culture of professionalism. We have a culture of people having extreme ownership. We have a culture of people that are gritty, that will roll up their sleeves and will do the work no matter what. We have a culture of people who will be the good. They don't gossip, they lift others up, they are kind. Once you understand what your culture is, you've got to defend it like your life depended on it, because honestly, your business life quite likely does depend on your culture. I love using a people analyzer for this. It makes it very simple and it makes it very just data driven. And so look in the comments below and I'll include a link to our people analyzer for culture. All right, let's get to number 5. Number 5 is start with the end in mind. Oftentimes when you start a business, you've got a great idea, you've got great passion around it, and it's wonderful. And you're really probably the right person to be doing it. But they skip the idea, this part where you're building out the process, the standard operating procedures, if you will. When it's time to actually like, oh my gosh, I got all the orders and now I've got to put out a bunch of these orders, you don't have the operational structure to handle that workload. So what you have got to do is you got to start off early by making sure that you're setting up the operational structure of your business as if you were 10 times bigger than you are now. What's great about that, as you begin to scale, you can scale right into that operational structure. If you don't do that, what ends up happening is you end up taking on water, and oftentimes people never recover from that. It sinks their ship. So number 5 is start with the end in mind. All right, one more interruption. Hey, listen, you guys know I'm working with salespeople and leaders all over the country, all over the world for that matter, and we're all focused on one thing. How is it that we have the greatest impact and change the most lives? So here's the thing. You don't have to pay me to be your coach. I'm going to give you my phone number. I want you to text me any question you've got. I promise you I'll answer it. Just try me. 833-338-0078. Ask me whatever you want. I'm in this for you, not just with you, for you. Let's get out there and crush it and change some lives. All right, number 6, if you want consistent profit, start with purpose. Listen, I know that there's a lot of social media and everybody's driving their Bentleys and their Lambos and all that stuff, and that's great if that's your thing. No judgment. But here's the thing, it's not about the money. What it really is about the purpose. If you will chase your purpose, if you will do what's necessary to fulfill the purpose that you have and solve enough problems for other people, and you will just simply contribute more value into the world, you won't have to worry about the profits. But if you start with profits over purpose, well, you may be successful for a minute, but you won't be successful for the long run. So you will be able to start your business, you just won't ever be able to grow and scale it. Number 7, you got to surround yourself with really smart people. And I need to just put a little caveat in here, right? It's important. You're not going to be the smartest person in the room. And in fact, if you are the smartest person in the room in all areas of your business, well, then you're not growing. If you really want to grow, if you really want to scale, you're going to have to bring people along that are smarter and more specialized in their areas of business than you are. Now, here's the thing. They have to absolutely be on fire for you. I'm talking about they want to be around you. They love what you stand for. They love what your company stands for. Like they are on fire for you, your core values, your belief systems, the whole thing. If they are not on fire for you, if they don't want to pursue you, if they don't want to be in the rooms that you're in, if they don't believe that you can do something to make their life better, they're not the right people. I don't care how smart they are. Don't walk, run away. Hire smarter people than you that are on fire for what you stand for and what you believe in. Number 8, get a great mentor. If you want to compress time, if you want to reduce the amount of pain that you will inevitably experience when you start, grow, and scale a business, you need to have a great mentor, somebody that can teach you where the pitfalls are, how to skip steps in the process, and just how to compress the amount of time that it takes. Now, there is a piece to this that you need to be wary of. There are a lot of people out there that say they can do this, but you've got to actually find the ones that have actually done it. And what I've found is many of the people that are actively doing it, well, they're not out mentoring people actively, right? They're certainly not offering it very much. So you've got to be very, very careful that once you identify somebody that has what you want, that you then will reach out to them and verify that they actually have what you want. And then you're going to have to pursue them to be your mentor. That may look a lot like you being in the the right places at the right time. That may be paying for access. That may be meeting those folks where they're at. That may just simply be following and pursuing them in a whole variety of ways. I'm not talking about stalker, but you've got to get after the right people. Now, if you find somebody who is a great mentor in business, but he or she's been married 4 times, make sure you're not taking marital advice. You got it? All right, number 9, take them with you. And what I mean by that is your family. I learned along the way that being an entrepreneur is not a solo adventure. It's actually a family affair, because it's not just me that's paying the price. It's not just me that's making the sacrifices. And in order for this to work and for you to stay married, to be a great leader within your home, great spouse, you've got to take them with you, because while they're making those sacrifices, they need to know that there's a reward at the end. And if you will bring them together, you will be completely blown away at how much love and support there is from your family. And I have to be honest, like when we think about entrepreneurial adventures, we think about disjointed, out of balance, and it doesn't have to be that way if you will simply take them with you. Number 10, always be learning everything. You're always learning, you're always growing in all ways. In order to achieve something that you haven't achieved before, you're gonna have to become somebody that you aren't currently. And in order to do that, you're just gonna have to be a consummate learner, obsessed, if you will, with learning and changing. There is a cost to success. There is a cost to become a new person. That's killing the old person. The sooner that you will realize that and understand that it's okay, that growth, that anybody else, it's like, hey, you're changing? Yes, I am changing. And the reason you're changing is because you are always learning. You've become obsessed with learning. Number 11 is urgency. Listen, urgency is underrated. I think everybody thinks they've got time. Here's the thing. I wish I would have known you don't have time. It will take as long as you give it. And so if you have something that needs to be done, if you just dig in and you say, hey, listen, I'm going to make this happen and I'm going to make it happen right now, you'll get more things done. There are all kinds of stories about paralysis by analysis and people trying to get ready. I get it. I'm simply saying progress over perfection. Urgency has got to be one of your core values, if you will, your core directives in your business, because being an entrepreneur is not easy. Which brings me to number 12, which is be careful who you're comparing yourself to. If you're like me, I'm one of those like competitive people. Like I got to have an enemy, got to have a competitor. Like I want to win. Right? I want to get in there and I want to mix it up and I want to have, a friendly competitor, but a competitor. And so you just got to be careful though who you're comparing yourself with. If you look at the stats for businesses, maybe you didn't know this, but 20% of the businesses that get started don't make it a year. 30% fail in the first 3 years, 50% fail in the first 5 years, and 70% don't make it 10 years. So you've got to be careful who you're comparing yourself, because you might be doing better than some, you might even be doing better than most, but if you want a business that's actually going to stand the test of time, you're going to need to compare yourself to the right people. Now, for those of you that are watching this that aren't entrepreneurs, maybe you're micropreneurs or intrapreneurs, and you actually work for somebody else, as you go and you identify a company to go work for, this would be a really interesting stat for you to be thinking about, because you don't want to tie your horse to the wrong wagon, right? It could be that you're joining an organization, and if they've only been in the business for a couple of years, you now know what the failure rate is. So finding a company that's been around for longer than 10 years and has already proven that they've made it past the hard times might be very valuable to you. All right, number 13. I wish somebody would have told me that I needed to think big and small. I'm a big thinker. I love thinking big, vision and dreams and aspirations. And of course, I know as an entrepreneur, you've got to think small and you've got to get into the weeds, but they're not mutually exclusive. So what I would tell you is make sure that when you think small, you're thinking about the micro activities that you need to get done that are going to get you a long-term goal. We talked about micro measure instead of micromanage. So that's your thinking small, clearly identifying and scoreboarding what that would look like. but also create some space for you to think big. Oftentimes, we greatly overestimate what we can accomplish in a very short period of time, but we really underestimate what we're capable of doing in the long time. And y'all, I would have never ever imagined that I will have built and scaled a business the size of the one that I have today had I not given myself the ability to dream and to think big. So make sure that you think big and small. Number 14, focus on GCI. Now, for those of you in the real estate space, you're thinking something, but that's not what I'm thinking. I'm actually talking about focus on growth, culture, and innovation. In order to grow your business, you really have got to focus everybody in the organization on growth, culture, and innovation. And here's what I mean by that. Oftentimes you get into a company and once you start to grow, it's sort of us versus them, right? You've got the salespeople and then you've got the people that deliver on the product and then you got the people in between, and they all think that they're different and yet they're not. They're all in sales. And that's the culture that you've built. Well, the best way to create incredible growth is by having a culture of people within the organization that understand that they're all in sales, that understand this is all about growing. They become obsessed with learning. They become obsessed with finding new ways to do things better and more efficiently and provide greater levels of value. You know what I'm talking about? Like total growth, obsessed with that growth, the culture of growth, and then of course that leads into innovation because as we take the same number of people and the same amount of time that we have, well, they're not making any more of it, right? And so you've got to figure out new and improved ways to do not only the same thing, but also more things. There was a time where you didn't need to be that focused on innovation. You could just simply innovate maybe every 4 or 5 years. But today, if you're not innovating every 3 to 6 months, you are falling behind. So GCI. Number 15, always focus on what your customer needs. Now walk with me here. When you started your business, you identified a product or service that you were going to take to market that was going to make somebody's life better, and so much so that they were going to trade their stack of cash for your product or service. At some point, while you continue to grow and scale, you might feel like you have the right answers, and yet you need to check in to make sure that what you're feeling is actually real. Our job is to make sure that we deliver for our customers. So rather than worrying about what you think they want or what you think they need, make sure that you're checking in with your customers to make sure you're delivering what they actually need, what they think and know that they need. If you will solve more of their problems and fill more of their needs, then they will trade their stacks of cash for your product or service. All right, number 16, I hate to tell you, but you're a narcissist. Well, I'm kidding. Not really. Hear me out, right? Bottom line is that you have got to have some kind of an ego and you got to have some element of narcissism. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing because let's face it, starting a business is insane. You've got to have an element of delusion because like there are other people that tried to do it that didn't make it. So what makes you think that you can make it? And yet here you are, that level of narcissism, your ego has allowed you to block out all of that stuff and do what it is that you're doing. Now, that's great and that served you really well, but there also is a problem with that narcissism and ego. Sometimes it can get triggered. And this one, I would just say, I want you to never be triggered. You're going to have to figure out a way. And listen, I'm not saying that there isn't a good, like a fake anger, like that every once in a while that you're going to lean on and use, and it's going to serve you really well, but not really. I don't want you actually to ever get triggered. And if you can do that, what you'll do is you'll open yourself up to listening to some other people's ideas. And some people have got some pretty amazing ideas. Number 2, you won't burn any bridges. And number 3, you don't need to accept every invitation to an argument. Like you just don't need to. And it's a distraction to you doing what you need to do, which is grow and scale your business, period. So what I want you to do is I want you to think of yourself as the thermostat. Ed Milat says it, right? I want you to think of yourself as the thermostat, not the thermometer. Thermometer walks into a room, reacts to everything that's going on, hot, cold, whatever, and next thing you know, you're in a fight with everybody. That's not good. That's not good for you. It's not good for your health. It's not good for your relationships, and it's not good for your business. Instead, be the thermostat. Be the one that makes every environment better. If it's too hot, they cool it off. If it's too cold, they warm it up. But you be the one that's impacting your environment around you, and you make everybody feel better. That's gonna require for you to check your narcissism and to check your ego. So don't be triggerable. I know it's not a word. Don't put any comments in there, but listen, just tell yourself, I am untriggerable. All right, number 17, last one, let's wrap it up. Winning starts where losers quit. As I was going through my journey and growing the business, it terrified me anytime I saw somebody fail along the way. And it made me think that I was on the wrong path. Oh my gosh, it's gonna happen to me next. Here's the thing, right? If you know the data and you know that 70% of the businesses aren't gonna make it 10 years, then you know that there's a lot of people along the way that aren't gonna make it. So just remember that winners start where losers quit. So don't quit. If you don't quit, you get to the other side. You follow, right? Listen, it's gonna be a hard business. Being an entrepreneur is hard. It's probably harder than you think it is, but maybe you think it's hard. It's probably gonna cost you more and take you longer, but maybe not. But nonetheless, you have to be a bit delusional in order to be in this business. You just can't quit. We've heard it over and over and over. It's always darkest before the dawn. Well, don't quit right before the sun comes up, right? So there you go. There's my 17 things that I wish I would have known. I started when I was growing and scaling my business. And some of you may be thinking about starting your business. And if so, please take these, use them. I think they will serve you well. These are the same things that I'm using with the people that I work with, the other CEOs that I'm working with, that help them compress time and alleviate some of the pain associated with building a business. For some of you that are watching this, you may already be entrepreneurs. Hell, you may be more experienced at entrepreneurship than I am. So do me a favor, leave some comments below. If you think I've left some things out, add them. Let's contribute to the overall community. We know that to be a successful entrepreneur, it's really hard, and it's a pretty small group. It's a small fraternity. Girls welcome. Let's all share this. And hey, if you know somebody that is contemplating starting a business, or maybe they've started a business and this might just be helpful for them, share it, send it to them. Maybe this will help them compress some time. And then what you can do for me is like this, subscribe to the channel, leave some comments, encouragement, some words of encouragement. And thank you. Thanks for being here and watching a video from Conklin and Family. See you on the next one.